disengaged, underperforming team members show up 5 days a week, but you're lucky if you get 2 full days of work out of them. And when someone is just clearly not meeting expectations, it's costing you thousands of dollars in your business. You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question. What has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm the business psychologist, the author of the 4-Week Vacation and the How to Hire the Best series, as well as the founder of Tap the Potential, where we coach entrepreneurs like you to design sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. Because after all, we believe work supports life, not the other way around. Weekly on the Profit by Design podcast, we bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. How do you deal with an underperforming team member? Oh my goodness, it's such a common situation. We hear this question quite often here at Tap the Potential. And as a matter of fact, just the other day, I had a message come in from a member of our Tap the Potential community. And by the way, if you're not in our Mighty Networks community at Tap the Potential, be sure to join because you can send in questions and share with me what you'd like to hear on the Profit by Design podcast. So you can join our community at tapthepotential.com/group. So this community member sent in the question, Dr. Sabrina, we have a team member who's been with us for a long time. They're not doing what we need them to do. We feel loyalty to this team member because they've been with us for a number of years and they've been critical to our growth. We've had repeated conversations. There are head nods and promises of improvement, but here we are almost a year later and we're still dealing with the same issues. That is incredibly frustrating. And it's very murky at that point what to do. So today on this episode, I want to walk you through some clear steps that will help you make a decision, a firm decision as to whether or not you should keep this team member or let them go. And if you do decide to keep them, how to coach that team member. So before we go there, I want to make sure you're aware that we have a new workshop coming up at Tap the Potential, Unlocking Profit Potential, the Power of A Players and How to Attract Them for 10x Growth. That is happening Thursday, November 16th, 1 to 2:30 Central. Mark your calendar, plan to be there with us live. It'll be interactive. You get to ask me questions about how the material relates in your business and your situation. The registration link is tapthepotential.com/workshop. There is no charge to attend. This is us being a gift from our gifts here to help you at Tap the Potential. So as we dive into this topic, I want to talk to you about the cost of underperformance on your team. When we are in small business, our margins are very thin. We have a lot of variables that impact our profitability. Payroll is one of our biggest expenses. We simply cannot afford to keep underperforming team members on our team. It will undermine our profitability. And the research shows that disengaged, underperforming team members show up 5 days a week, but you're lucky if you get 2 full days of work out of them. And when someone is just clearly not meeting expectations, it's costing you thousands of dollars in your business. So that's the monetary cost. There's another cost, though, that we don't pay enough attention to, and that is what is the impact of keeping that team member around? How is that impacting your A players, right? Well, I'll tell you something. It's bringing down morale. They are losing confidence in your leadership. It's not good to keep underperforming team members around. And oftentimes the A players are carrying extra burden because they're picking up the slack for the underperforming team member. So one of the best ways to suss out underperforming team members is for you to be doing regular one-to-ones with all of your team members so that they have an opportunity to talk to you about challenges that they're experiencing and getting their work done and what undermines their performance. And you'll start to notice when you have an underperforming team member, you'll start to notice a pattern that team member's name comes up in these one-to-ones a lot by multiple team members. And that's how you know, like, whoa, we've really got an issue here that needs to be paid attention to. But before that, if you have done a good job of identifying expectations for this team member and they're supposed to be having one-to-ones with you and reporting in on those expectations, you'll identify this long before it becomes a problem that impacts other team members. So what I'm teaching you today is actually going to help you it's going to help you with this current problem, but it's also going to help you get in front of the problem and prevent it in the future, which is the best thing, right? Because we always feel in these small businesses like we're running around playing the whack-a-mole game, putting out one fire after another. So at Tap the Potential, we love teaching you strategies that prevent the fires so that you can just settle down and enjoy running your business and have a lot more ease. So this strategy that I'm teaching you today is going to help you on all fronts here. So the very first thing that you need to do is to identify clear expectations for performance for this team member and document those, then communicate those to the team member. Make sure the team member understands. So yes, nods and all of that has been going on in this particular scenario that I shared with you at the beginning. When the team member nods and says, yes, I understand, I need to make these changes. There's a follow-up question to that, and that is, how will I know? So what are you going to do and how will I know you've made those changes? That's kind of the first level of dealing with this. And if the team member makes excuses, that's a sign they're not coachable. And you don't want to keep people on your team who aren't coachable. So a lot of times what we see is you will have a one-to-one with the team member. You'll go over expectations. The team member nods and says yes, and says they understand. And then you will see a spike in improvement after that meeting. If they're coachable, their performance should continue to go up and up and up with maybe a little bit of slip back here and there, but generally an upward trend. If they're not coachable, what you're going to see is a spike after each one of these conversations, and then it falls back. And it starts to feel like for you, the supervisor, that you have to exert more energy to keep them on track than they are putting into doing their job. Like you're the one doing the heavy lifting all of a sudden. That's a bad sign when you start to have that feeling. So when it feels like you have to have repeated performance conversations just to keep them going, that's not good. So the next level is to have a performance review. And on this, make your performance review super simple. So many business owners complicate these performance reviews and make them really lengthy and detailed, and no one wants to spend all the time filling out a performance review like that. So identify the clear expectations for the person in this role. So if they can only get one thing done for you in a given day or a given week, what is the most critical thing? What's the result that you're looking for from them? And then what are the daily and weekly actions that they need to take that get them to that result? So that's the expectations. That's what goes on the performance review. And then you create a 1 to 3 rating. 1 means not meeting expectations. 2 is meeting expectations. 3 is exceeding expectations. Don't do a 1 to 10 scale or a 1 to 5 scale, because now you're introducing gray area and you're just going to keep yourself confused and muddled as to what to do about this team member. So they're either meeting expectations, exceeding them, or not meeting expectations. Rate them on these expectations. The other thing that you can put in your performance review are your immutable laws. And are they meeting expectations around those immutable laws? But that's it. That's really the basics of the performance review. And when you rate them, but also invite them to rate themselves. And then the two of you have a conversation around what your ratings look like. And this can be such a revealing exercise because there's a couple of ways this can go. 1, the team member is totally aware that they're not meeting expectations and for whatever reason just they're not able to do it. And now we all have consensus. This is not working. So that becomes really clear at that point. You need to let them go, support them in finding a better opportunity elsewhere that's better aligned with their strengths and who they are. The other scenario is that the team member will rate themselves higher than you're rating them, and they'll think they're meeting or exceeding expectations. This is somebody who's not in touch with reality. They're not connecting the dots after all these conversations that you've already had with them about not meeting expectations. And that's, this is one more conversation to just point out, wow, we have a big discrepancy here in how I see your performance and how you see your performance. What do you make of this? Put the imaginary duct tape over your mouth and see what they have to say. Maybe they had different ideas about the expectations than what you have. Maybe your expectations aren't as clear as you thought they were. So clarify them and then rate them on these clarified expectations and make sure they understand. And then at this point, you want to create a performance improvement plan with them. So you want to identify 3 things that they're going to work on improving in the next 4 to 6 weeks, not 3 months, not 6 months, not a year from now, 4 to 6 weeks, and make it really clear with them. These are the things that you need to work on for improvement. I want you to focus on these. You will have ongoing weekly one-to-ones where they are coming to you and reporting to you on their progress, on their performance improvement plan, and they need to bring in tangible evidence of their improvement. It's not up to you to go track down their improvement or track them down for these conversations. They are going to have these meetings with you. They're going to show up and they're going to bring forth in every meeting what they have done to work on this improvement. And you'll know in several weeks' time, if it's been 3 weeks and each time they're coming in and they still haven't made progress, don't drag this out. Let them go. There's not anything that's going to happen in weeks 4 to 6 that hasn't happened in weeks 1 to 3 when they have a performance improvement plan in place. You may see, hopefully, the best outcome here is that they are making slow and steady progress and improving from week to week, and they're benefiting from the individual attention with you and the support to help them problem solve the different things that are getting in their way with their performance. And so now you've opened up a communication channel, and hopefully this is somebody that will continue to improve. So you'll know if you see that steady improvement over 6 weeks, you'll feel a lot more confident that, yes, you should go ahead and keep this team member on. Now, one of the things that I've seen happen in growing businesses is that we have team members who are A players for us when we are at a certain level of business. And then as the business grows and more systems are needed and there's more complexity involved, those people who are A players at that previous level of business are not performing well in this other environment where there's more systems, more structure, and more team who are impacted by whatever they're doing or not doing. And so recognize that as our businesses grow, we will not always have team members who've been with us for years. They may not be along for the ride with us, and it's okay to let them go. It's really healthy to have conversations with them about, is this still a good fit for you? And are your strengths aligned with what's needed of you in the role as it is right now? And to acknowledge, hey, 3 years ago, you helped us in all these different ways. But right now, where we are and where we're headed, your strengths don't seem to be aligned here. And then you're supporting them in identifying other opportunities. You're going to give them a recommendation and a reference and help them find a job elsewhere that's better aligned with who they are. So when you do this, when you make these clear and decisive actions, you are setting your team up for success. Your A players will see this and they will appreciate that they are no longer having to carry the weight of an underperforming team member. And even if it may be hard to let someone go because it means everybody else is going to have to do more work until that person can be replaced, usually what happens is your A players will breathe a sigh of relief. They actually feel less stressed because they're not having to do the extra work of a team member. and who wasn't performing. And they'll recognize, hey, this is a temporary situation. I'm taking on this extra work, but it's going to be okay. And so this actually helps you retain your A players because they recognize you have high standards. They appreciate that. And it also sends a message that you're going to hold people accountable to expectations. There's not a lot of, this isn't a company where we just give a lot of lip service to expectations, but we actually mean it, that there are expectations and people have to be accountable to those expectations. So I hope what I've shared with you around this has been helpful. I encourage you, if you struggle with these kinds of conversations or with making these kinds of tough decisions, that you consider joining us in the Better Business, Better Life program, because if you put off making decisions like this and dealing with these issues, and you do it for a number of years, it's going to erode your profitability. And the longer these kinds of problems go on in your business, the more problems there are to clean up. So I did an episode a couple months back on how our personality, our strengths, and our Achilles heels can set us up for success in many ways in business, but our Achilles heels can undermine us repeatedly. And so if you're a person, and an example is right here, if you're a person who has a lot of loyalty and you find yourself it's very difficult to let a team member go who's been with you for a long time, even though they're not performing, recognize that it's an Achilles heel for you and that it's having an impact in multiple areas of the business. And get some help, get some support with that. Come into our Better Business, Better Life program. You can head on over to tapthepotential.com and read about the program and sign up to have a conversation with Caitlin Beaver, our success team lead. And she will support you in making a decision as to whether or not the Better Business, Better Life program is right for you. So in closing, just a reminder, we have our free workshop coming up on November 16th, Unlocking Profit Potential, the Power of A Players, and how to attract them for 10x growth at tapthepotential.com/workshop. I hope to see you there. Bye for now. Thank you for spending time with me today. Join me in our Tap the Potential Mighty Networks community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode, ask me questions, and join in on the fun with your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey to designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. Isn't it time you take your life back? And finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.